Keep Our Republic is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. Since the spring of 2020, we've been doing our part to help keep our republic. We do it through hyper-localized civic education. We talk with Americans through town halls, legal seminars, media briefings, and other events. We know a lot of Americans have a lot of questions about how our elections work, what safeguards are in place, and who actually is working behind the scenes on election night as the votes are being tabulated. And that's why we're really glad you're joining us today. Hopefully, we can answer some of those questions.
Welcome back, everyone, to Keepers of Our Republic, a weekly nonpartisan podcast where I'm talking to election officials and judges about defending the rule of law and free and fair elections across this country. In short, we are asking people how we can best keep our republic. If this is your first time joining us, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and follow us along on every Thursday when we publish new conversations on these important topics. Today, I get to be joined by Election Administrator Toya Harrell, who works for the Wisconsin Village Clerk's office in Shorewood, Wisconsin. We're going to be chatting today about her experience managing elections and working in public service throughout Wisconsin, as well as her interesting family background that gives her a real unique look at why our democracy and our free and fair elections are so important. So with that, welcome Toya to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you have an interesting background. We were talking just a bit before we turned the record button on here about how you got started in elections work. So kind of run us through what's your history of working for government and how did you get involved in elections?
Well, I've been working for local government since really 2012. First started out as a court liaison for the city of Madison, their police department records unit. And I did that for about 4 years. And then I gravitated to become the municipal court clerk for the city of Monona, which is a suburb of Madison, for a little over 5 years. And came to Shorewood November 2021.
So you came to Shorewood in 2021, and was that as the elections administrator? Okay, lovely. And then,
It's actually the municipal clerk. So
okay,
then with that comes the responsibility of administering elections.
nice. And was that, so that was your first job working like in the election space. How
Yeah,
much of that was a shock to take on this
all
new
of it.
aspect? Okay, all of it.
All of it, because I was a court clerk.
Yeah,
So the only part that was the same was referencing state statutes.
yeah.
And so I had that background because as a court clerk, you have to always refer to the state statutes for your guidance. And so that was the only fallback I had. But I definitely wasn't looking to be a municipal clerk. Um, I actually thought I was applying for the court clerk position in both municipalities, and then both interviewed me and both offered me the job the same week. So to say I jumped in, I jumped in.
That is, you jumped in head first. So
I
walk
did.
us through how long did you have between when you took the job and when your first election day happened that you had to
I
organize?
took the job November 1st, and our first election was February 17th. So I had about 2 months to learn what my job role was. I was fortunate enough that my boss, who's the village manager, actually took over all the other aspects of my job
Nice.
so that I could focus solely on elections. And so I went to every training, every seminar, every conference. I met and talked frequently with Milwaukee County because that's who we
Yeah.
report to, and got like hands-on training. Met with my chief inspectors and had to change up their role a little bit so that I can continue to learn what my role was. And so the task I asked them to do was to schedule the election inspectors for their polling unit or polling location. That was the different part that they've never had to do,
Mm.
but it freed up more time for me to learn what to do. And My first election was February, and I remember when I got the okay from Milwaukee County to go home, I started crying because I couldn't believe I actually did it. Like, oh my God, I actually did it.
Just this
And
cathartic release
it
of
was
like, it happened.
it was like wow. And from that, I started doing check-ins with my chief inspectors,
Yeah.
which ended up being the practice that we do. We meet beforehand, do a run of show, and then afterwards we kind of debrief and talk about what worked, what didn't work. Um, I've certainly learned a lot over the years. Like to see where I am now
Yeah.
is incredible. To see where I was like 4 years from today, I was sitting in panic mode trying to plan the election.
How many elections do you feel like you had to do before you were able to turn off full panic mode before you could start I mean, the answer might be,
That first
let's
year,
see. Yeah. Okay.
because as I learned, each election is different.
Yeah.
And so the spring primary is different from the spring election. The general primary is different from the general election. So that entire year, I learned about the different climates of the election
Yeah.
and learned that you can't do an election the same for each one because it encompasses a different skill set of people, different equipment, making sure you have more of something and not, overabundance of another. So you're always thinking on your toes, and it really taught me how to do what I ended up coining my end game meeting that I have with myself. I have end game meetings where I talk about the end game and then work backwards. And
Okay.
then get to the starting point. And then from there, I can deploy it out a lot better to my election inspectors and chiefs.
Okay. So, two questions. Talk us
Mhm.
through what an election inspector is. Is that unique to your area or to Wisconsin, or is that something
No.
we see nationally?
Election inspectors, I mean, people call them poll workers.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it is. And I think the title kind of shifts depending on what state you live in. But they're the people that are there that are checking people in, um, assisting them with voter registration, greeting them when they come in, and monitoring the tabulator to make sure that they are putting the ballots in correctly and they pass out the I voted stickers. There's a lot that they do. They also assist me with in-person absentee voting, which
Mhm.
happens here at the Village Hall. So they're really they're the pulse of the election, really.
For sure. Do you have a high turnover rate where you need to be training new inspectors every year, or do you have a lot of repeat volunteers that are coming back again and again?
Shorewood is really fortunate in that we have a mix of both.
Nice.
Um, I have never, so far, I have never had to have an instance where I'm searching for election inspectors. We always have more than what we need. Like when I started, we had 54 election inspectors on my roster, and today I have 146.
Wow.
And so people are always wanting to come and work here. Um, and we're always sometimes, I have to turn people away because we have what we need in terms of workers, but that also helps me in not burning out people
Yeah.
when I need them to do different other things other than the election administration. So I have a really nice pool of people that I can pick from to do different parts of assisting me with the election process.
Talk to me about Shorewood itself. How many people, how big is your district that you're covering? Kind of how many people are coming out in an average election? What's your electorate like?
So Shorewood's population is a little over 13,000, I think 400 or people. And of that, over 10,000 are registered voters.
Wow.
And put it simply, Shorewood votes. We have one of the highest voter turnouts in the
That's
state of
awesome.
Wisconsin. Um,
Awesome.
it's really high here.
Yeah.
And I'm never surprised when I see the numbers. It's like, yep, they're true to that Shorewood Votes motto.
That's cool. What do you think contributes to such a high turnout in your area, if you have an idea?
There a lot of election inspectors here. They live here in Shorewood,
Yeah.
and they are who I like to phrase my good troublemakers. They're the people out there talking about elections, asking even like their neighbors, "Are you registered to vote?" Like there's
Right.
so much that they do in advocating for the election process, and they're very good about learning the candidates. They're
Mm,
really good about that. They do their due diligence in learning who the candidates are, even if they're not within Shorewood. They have a really good grasp of who it is that they're voting for on that ballot.
that's so cool. Well, okay, let's talk about good troublemakers for a second then, because you have an interesting family background that I was reading
Yeah.
about online of some notable good troublemakers. So you are a descendant or a relative of Rosa Louise Macaulay, who most people would know better as Rosa Parks.
Yes.
Obviously, we're recording right at the very end of January, but this is going to come out during February, which is Black History Month. So what is it like having that personal connection to the civil rights movement, and getting to work in elections today, something that was fought so passionately for, that is still being fought for even today across the country?
It definitely I'm in awe, first off,
Yeah.
that people like her and others in my family worked so hard and tirelessly just to make the voting process happen for African Americans.
Mhm.
And there are people who not only sacrifice their time and talent, but we have people who literally sacrifice their life. And so this is near and dear to me. And I
Yeah.
take democracy seriously. I take making sure that it's equitable very seriously. And so it tells me that, I've got to pay it forward by making sure that I make them proud in making
Mhm.
sure my children know they have a voice, in making sure that people understand what democracy is and what we literally had to go through to bring me to this point where some people kind of feel like it's an optional thing. I
Yeah.
don't have that passion because I know what it took to get us here. And I know just like that, it could be taken away. So I've got to make sure I'm always doing my due diligence in a way of thanking my ancestors by always being at the forefront and always being that person that is advocating for democracy.
Yeah, I love what you said about not taking it for granted. And of course, we when we think of Miss Parks, we think of the moment on the bus where she didn't stand up. But of course, that was just like such a small moment in a lifetime of public
Yes,
service that she
yes,
had and that everyone in the movement had. You've obviously worked in government, as we talked about earlier. You've worked in public service basically for years now.
mhm.
What would you like to say to people, or do you ever think about how the country seems to be shifting away towards getting people involved in public service as a valuable career?
Mhm.
And, what do you want to say to encourage, do you want to say anything to encourage people that, this is a path worth choosing and that it's so important, but it also brings so much joy, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times people just don't understand what it is, what it
Yeah.
takes to make this thing happen. And so I encourage people to, go and observe how our public testings are, observe and kind of shadow your municipal clerk in watching them plan the election because it's not something that it takes 2 weeks. It's months that we have to plan
Yeah.
these things. Go and sit and watch it from an election inspector's point of view and watching the election process and watch the different people that are in play to help make that happen. And if people understood more of what it is that we do, I think there would be less negativity around what it is that we do.
Hmm.
Um, people, you kind of hear things, like social media, right? You always hear about the negativity and you just run with it as being the truth. But I encourage people to even step in a role as an observer and just watch our election process. Come in during in-person absentee voting, watch the process, watch how it is that we do what we do. And you can see the passion in our chief inspectors and our election inspectors, and you can see the joy that our electors have in that they were respected, they were treated with the utmost respect, and they had a positive experience with the election process.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges, some of the biggest challenges you think you and your colleagues in the election and space are facing right now?
Social media.
Yeah.
Those little bots just get to me, but you have to know who you are, and you have to really have that on your shoulders at all times. You got to know, who you are is, you're the person that supervises the election process. That's all we do in the state of Wisconsin. We're not election inspectors. We're not chief inspectors. We are the planners in making sure that this process happens. And so not taking much of, I'm always telling my staff to not take what a person says personally, because we don't know where they're getting it from or what space they were in when they received it to come at us so negatively. But all we do is ensure them of what we're doing and always invite them. It's very open. It's a very open setting. So you can very much come in at any time. And I welcome people to come in at any time and watch what I do, watch what we do in making this happen.
It's awesome. So kind of a related question, but obviously it's 2026. We've got big elections this year. Do you guys have a February election or just in November?
We don't here in Shorewood. Some municipalities in Wisconsin do. There's only 2 municipalities in Milwaukee County that have a primary.
Okay. So we're looking ahead. November's, I'm sure, very much on your mind at this particular moment, or starting to be. What do you think, what would you like the public to start thinking about now as we sort of start hurtling towards November and the next election?
Well, right now, do your due diligence in learning the candidates, learning about the candidates, attend the forums, ask as many questions as you see fit in that forum, because that's how you kind of formulate who's the best candidate for that position. And just do your due diligence in going to your municipality and talking to your clerks or talking to, your alder people or your district people or your trustees, and kind of learn from their point of view what it is that it takes to govern that municipality. The more information that you have, the less unprepared you'll be for the election.
Love that. Well, Toya, thank you so much for joining us. This is a pleasure. I love talking to our election clerks. You guys are the backbone of elections and therefore democracy in this country. And it was such a joy to speak to you. And I wish you all the best in this election and your
Thank you very much. I'm so honored to be in here doing this with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
If you like this episode, please share it on social media and tell your friends. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. I hope you'll agree that our guest is indeed a keeper of the Republic. If you want to learn more about how you can help keep our Republic, stop on over to our website, keepourrepublic.org.